get ready to kickstart your journey to wellness with the ultimate guide in town. Welcome to Wellness Unleashed with Doc Stone. Join us as we journey through the realms of natural healing, where ancient wisdom meets modern science. Prepare to be inspired by stories of transformation and triumph. With Doc Stone as your guide, discover the power of holistic living and the joy of reclaiming your health. Prepare for a whirlwind adventure through the world of holistic wellness. From fitness freaks to spiritual gurus, we've got something for everyone. So grab your sneakers, your yoga mat, or just your sense of curiosity, and let's dive headfirst into a world of wellness wonders. Wellness Unleashed with Doc Stone. Your path to a vibrant life starts now. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Wellness Unleashed with Doc Stone. I am Jeremy Doc Stone, your holistic health coach and host of this television show, and I am excited to welcome you to tonight's episode. I hope that all of you have been having a fantastic week. I know that with a lot of you that this is the beginning of the school season and fall is in the air, and maybe there is a bunch of excess stress that is happening in your life with all of these happenings going on. I know that in our household, we've had school starting and trying to get everything, bus routines figured out, getting kids up for school in the morning and everything like that. So it can add a little bit of extra stress to your lives, just like kind of does our family's lives. And I think that tonight's topic is going to be appropriate as we're going to talk about something that stress has a big impact on. So I hope that all of you are finding different ways to cope with the stress, to find ways to just release it and to let it go and to enjoy this time of year. In our household, we've had, let's see, our youngest started sophomore year. Our second youngest son just started his senior year, and just a whole lot of happenings going on, as well as, just all the normal day-to-day things. And so we're going to talk a little bit today about a condition that is directly tied to stress and maybe some natural approaches to it and ways to handle it. As always, I want to remind everybody before we do get started today that we do not diagnose anything on the show, that you should seek your healthcare provider if you're having any kind of health issues, disease, anything like that. That this show is meant purely for education, for entertainment purposes, and that we do not diagnose or treat any kind of diseases on this television show. So please, if you are struggling with any kind of health condition, make sure that you do seek out the appropriate healthcare provider so that you may get the treatment, diagnosis, or whatever it is that you're looking for and that you might need. So that's just all the legalities out of the way. I just want to make sure that we address that. So we today are going to talk about a fantastic, or not a fantastic, but actually a pretty rare condition, disease. It was a request that was made that we would talk about this on an episode. So we are going to talk today about Addison's disease, which maybe you've never heard of because it is one of those rarer diseases. But there are a number of people in the United States that are diagnosed each year with this condition. And so we do want to make sure that we kind of talk about these different things that maybe you hadn't heard about before. So we're going to talk about natural approaches to Addison's disease. And I just want to let you know that, again, this was a request that we would talk about this. And so if you know anybody that does suffer from this condition, please make sure that you share. As always, make sure that you like, share, subscribe, any which way, whatever platform that you're watching or listening to our show on. Again, you can find us on ArrowStreamTV.com, live streamed or the recordings. You could also find us on YouTube. You can find us on Roku, Amazon Fire TV. We're also now on Spotify and iHeartRadio, and also on Apple Podcasts. Just search for Natural Health TV, and you will find our show there in case you miss it or if you want to share it with anybody. Today's show is brought to you by ArrowStreamTV Network, our good friends Jim and Emerson over there, who founded the network. If you are interested at getting your show, whether it's in the natural health space or in business or leadership or any other type of space, make sure that you reach out to me. I'd be happy to talk to you about getting your show started on the ArrowStreamTV network, which is seen on a variety of live streaming and video on demand networks. So again, it's brought to you by ArrowStreamTV and of course by Doc Stone's Natural Medicine. You can find us at docstonesnaturalmedicine.com for your holistic health coaching, direct-to-patient labs, all of that kind of stuff. We help you to discover the root causes of chronic illnesses and to help you live a more vibrant and healthy life. So again, today's episode brought to you by ArrowStreamTV Network and Doc Stone's Natural TV or DocStonesNaturalMedicine.com. All right, so let's get started on today's show. We're going to talk about natural approaches to Addison's disease. You can find me on social media at Doc Stone's Natural Medicine, Facebook and YouTube and Instagram. All right, so Addison's disease. Like I said, you probably haven't heard of it because it is a bit rare, but Addison's disease is a rare endocrine disorder where the adrenal glands, which are these little triangular glands located on top of your kidneys, they don't produce enough or an adequate amount of the steroid hormones, cortisol and aldosterone. Now, cortisol, you've probably heard of. It is released, when we're under stress, when fear kicks in. It's that whole part of that adrenal system where when we see some kind of threat, whether it's a real or imagined threat, stress kicks in. It releases this cortisol to help us decide whether we're going to run. It's that whole freeze or fight, freeze, or flight. And so these little triangular glands on top of the kidneys, they're responsible for releasing this as well as aldosterone. So let's talk about, I mentioned it was rare. Let's talk a little bit about the numbers. So here's Addison's by the numbers. Its prevalence is really only 1 in 10,000 to 1 in 20,000. We don't really know for sure. We'll kind of discuss as we get into more about it, why we're not quite sure what the prevalence is, but it's estimated to be about 1 in 10,000 to 1 in 20,000 people in the United States. Men and women are impacted fairly equally, with women just being slightly above men in the occurrence of Addison's. Approximately 2,500 to 4,500 new cases in the U.S. are diagnosed annually. And again, we don't know how accurate this number is as far as people who actually have it, as you'll find out why here in a bit. Most commonly diagnosed is between the ages of 30 and 50. So we don't see it rare. We don't see diagnosed very often in pediatrics, but when it is diagnosed in pediatrics, it is almost always because of a genetic condition. And it can be very, very serious in pediatrics because it means that they're born with adrenal insufficiency right from birth. So we don't see it diagnosed very often, but when it is, it's usually because of a genetic condition and not because of one of the other many causes of Addison's disease. So let's talk about causes and risk factors. Now, before we get into the causes and risk factors, we're going to differentiate between the two kinds of Addison's disease. Now, there's primary Addison's disease, which we're going to talk about first, and then there's secondary Addison's disease, which we'll talk about later. What is really the difference between the two, primary and secondary? So primary Addison's disease is when the adrenal glands themselves are damaged. They can't produce a sufficient amount of the hormones cortisol and aldosterone. So that's why it's primary, because it's primarily there's some type of damage to the adrenal glands, and they cannot produce these hormones. Secondary Addison's disease is actually when the adrenal glands aren't damaged, where they have the ability to produce these hormones, but a secondary factor is causing them to not produce the hormones as needed. So that's the difference between primary and secondary Addison's disease. So let's kind of talk about primary Addison's disease first, and then we'll talk about secondary. So here's some causes and risk factors. So this is the most common cause of Addison's disease. It's an autoimmune adrenalitis. So this is an autoimmune condition where, for some reason, we don't know exactly why, the body begins to attack the adrenal glands because it thinks it's a foreign invader. So essentially, you have the cells on the adrenal glands. The body goes, oh, these are foreign cells. We need to get rid of them. And your immune system starts to attack it and break down the adrenal glands. So it's actually damaging the glands, which then, because of the damage, they're not able to produce the hormones as they are supposed to do. So this is about 70 to 90% of the cases of Addison's disease. So it truly is the most common cause of the Addison's disease. So autoimmune disorders, again, like most autoimmune disorders out there, we don't really know exactly why all of a sudden your body starts to begin to think that its self is enemy. However, we do know that there are some things that contribute to triggering autoimmune responses, and there are some things that we can do to help to possibly prevent autoimmune disorders and how to make them better. And there's a lot of natural ways that we're able to do that as well. So autoimmune adrenalitis, 70 to 9% causes. So it can be associated, autoimmune AD can also be associated with other autoimmune conditions. And here's kind of the thing that we know about autoimmune conditions. Many times when you have one autoimmune condition, you either have or may develop another autoimmune condition. So whatever we can do to strengthen the immune system, to remove triggers for autoimmune reactions, we are going to help ourselves in a very big way, because we may be preventing other autoimmune disorders as well. So common autoimmune disorders that are also kind of related or associated with autoimmune Addison's disease are type 1 diabetes, which of course is an autoimmune disease that affects the production of insulin. Hashimoto's thyroiditis. Now, Hashimoto's is a very, very, very commonly diagnosed autoimmune condition that affects the thyroid. Many people, especially females, are afflicted with this condition. And then vitiligo is also another autoimmune disease that is oftentimes associated with autoimmune related Addison's disease. Another cause of primary Addison's disease is infections. Now, historically, interestingly enough, tuberculosis, TB, was the leading cause of Addison's disease. However, with better, more sanitary conditions in the Western world, in the United States, it is no longer the most common cause. Now it's the autoimmune form of it that causes it the most. However, in underdeveloped portions of the country and underdeveloped areas of the world, the Addison's disease is still heavily caused by tuberculosis. Other infections, such as fungal infections, can also cause adrenal damage. Again, both of these affect your adrenal glands and therefore affect the way or the amount of the hormones that they can produce. Now, there are some congenital or genetic causes of primary Addison's disease as well. Congenital adrenal hyperplasia, or CAH, and that's a genetic disorder that affects adrenal hormone production. And so it leads to adrenal insufficiency from birth. There is also a genetic condition called adrenoleukodystrophy, and it's a genetic disorder that can lead to Addison's disease by causing damage to the adrenal cortex. So again, we do have a couple of genetic causes, but they're much, much more rare cause than the autoimmune adrenal condition. So some other causes of primary Addison's disease, again, primary Addison's disease being damaged adrenals, so they can't produce, is adrenal hemorrhage. So this is when there's severe bleeding into the adrenal glands. And this is often due to conditions like sepsis or anticoagulant therapy. So either you get a septic infection inside and it causes damage to your adrenal glands, or because of some type of anticoagulant, in other words, trying to thin your blood, your blood will sometimes leak into and hemorrhage into your adrenal glands, causing damage, and therefore they can't produce the hormones like they're supposed to. There's also now this is a interesting name here, so bear with me here. Waterhouse-Friderichsen syndrome, and it's a rare but serious cause linked to bacterial infections like meningococcemia. So sometimes very, very rare, of course, but it can be very serious. And you get a bacterial infection and can damage your adrenal glands. Again, primary Addison's disease, all about damage to the glands, and therefore because of that damage, they either produce very little or an insufficient amount of the adrenal hormones that your body counts on for a whole lot of functions in your body. Now, these hormones don't just help us with our stress, but they also are very, very important to electrolyte balance, keeping your salt levels up, blood pressure regulation. So there's a whole lot of parts of the body that these adrenal hormones that they impact. So some common symptoms of the Addison's disease is chronic fatigue, muscle weakness, loss of appetite, weight loss, low blood pressure, darkening of the skin. You get dark spots, especially around the creases in your body, or scars. You gastrointestinal symptoms, diarrhea, vomiting, stomach pains. Dehydration is a big one. Salt cravings, because again, it'll make your salt levels low, which again throws off your electrolytes and can throw off the rest of the homeostasis of your body. And emotional changes. You can become irritable, emotional, angry because of these imbalances inside of your body. So how is Addison's diagnosed? Well, Addison's diagnosed first of all by thorough clinical evaluation. Now, something that we need to keep in mind is that the reason why we don't really know how widespread Addison's disease is, because the symptoms, some of them which I just mentioned here a few minutes ago, are so common to other conditions. The other thing to keep in mind is that the damage to the adrenal glands, about 90% of your adrenal gland is damaged before you actually start experiencing the symptoms. That's why prevention is going to be so important in lifestyle changes, which is what holistic and natural medicine primarily focuses on. So by the time you actually start experiencing the symptoms associated with Addison's disease, about 90% of your adrenal glands have been kind of destroyed. So it's really important to be aware of the changes in your body, be aware of any of these symptoms so that you can start addressing it early on. But again, prevention is going to be the key to making sure that we don't develop Addison's disease. So diagnosing Addison's, this is how you're conventional doctor is likely going to diagnose. So they're going to do a thorough clinical evaluation, get a good patient history, ask you about your symptoms and diet and lifestyle, hopefully lifestyle, though unfortunately in conventional medicine, they don't delve too much into that. Blood testing, oftentimes they discover Addison's disease kind of by accident, because they'll do routine blood tests and find that you have low sodium or high potassium. Again, we talked about how Addison's disease, because of the insufficiency of the adrenal hormones, will affect the electrolytes like sodium and potassium inside. And so one of the keys that you'll find is that in the blood test, you have low sodium, which is why you're craving salt, and you'll be eating more salt because your body knows that it needs more in its system to balance out, and you will have high potassium. The other thing that your doctor may do is what's called an ACTH stimulation test. ACTH is the hormone released from pituitary gland that signals your adrenal glands to actually produce the cortisol and the adenostrol. So this is actually something from the pituitary, which is released and tells your adrenal glands to do these. So ACTH stimulation test, what they do is they'll actually inject you with this pituitary hormone to stimulate your adrenal glands to release the adrenal hormones. And then they will measure the levels of the adrenal hormones in your blood after they give you this stimulating hormone. If your cortisol and your other adrenal hormones don't rise after being given this stimulating hormone to the appropriate levels, then they will diagnose you and say, okay, then your adrenal gland is not working properly, it's not producing the right amount. Also, insulin-induced hypoglycemia test, because the hormones from adrenal glands also affect your blood sugar levels. What they will do is they will actually inject you with insulin and try to get you to have hypoglycemia, which means lower blood sugar, because insulin is supposed to lower your blood sugar. And if your blood sugar does not lower appropriately after being injected with this fast-acting insulin, then that is also a possible sign that your adrenal glands are damaged and you may have Addison's disease. And then another way that they'll diagnose this with CT scan. These is an X-ray type scanning device, imaging device, and they will look at your adrenal glands on top of your kidneys to see if they've shrunk or they look normal, or they can see any type of damage on them. So what's the conventional treatment? Okay, so the modern medicine, conventional medicine treatment for Addison's disease. Well, most treatments are directed towards symptoms. So if you're having hyperglycemia, if you have low salt levels, if you have low blood pressure, you may have to see all kinds of different doctors if you're having GI issues. And so basically it's a shotgun approach trying to hit all of these different symptoms that you have. Now, most treatments are directed that way. So you'll find that if you do have Addison's disease, a big part of that treatment is going to be replacing the hormones cortisol and aldosterone. And so they will replace these with medications, and they will monitor your reaction to the amount that they give you. You may have to increase the amounts during high periods of stress or some types of infections. And you may also need to increase your salt intake. Now, I know most of the time your doctor is going to tell you to eat low salt, but if you are suffering from Addison's disease, you will want to take extra salt, because by the causation of this disease, you will have lower salt levels, sodium levels in your blood, and your body actually does need sodium. Sodium is not the enemy. So something that I want to keep in mind is that adrenal crisis is a medical emergency. So if you suspect that you or someone you care for is experiencing an adrenal crisis, it is imperative to seek immediate medical attention. This is not something to play around with. It is a true medical emergency. Now, what does an adrenal crisis sometimes look like? It can look like lethargy. It can look like stomach issues, severe stomach issues. May have a hard time getting out of bed. May have a hard time speaking. It is a very, very true medical emergency. So please make sure that if you do feel like you are having this, or somebody that you know is, please make sure that you get emergency medical attention right away, where they can replace these electrolytes. Usually they'll give them an IV with sodium in it, as well as inject, these replacement hormones, possibly at higher levels to bring the body back up the homeostasis. So please make sure that you are treating this like the medical emergency that it really is. So again, on this show, we like to talk about natural ways to address different health issues. So of course, we're going to talk about holistic and natural treatments here for a little bit, because I think that it's important to remember that your body was created and designed to heal itself. It is always trying to put itself into homeostasis. And oftentimes it is things that we do that actually throw us off and make us open or susceptible to different types of disease. For instance, I mentioned earlier that autoimmune diseases, even though we don't really know what causes them, we know that some things trigger them, like stress. We know that improper diet. We know that toxins. That's why I always recommend to our clients to get rid of as many toxins out of your home as possible. In our house, we use all natural cleaners that are safe, that have no toxins in them. Our body products don't have toxins in them, because our bodies are constantly bombarded by different toxins. And while our detox systems are, trying to get rid of them all the time, sometimes we get this toxic burden in place. And by really weakening our immune system, we can open ourselves up to different types of autoimmune diseases. So getting rid of toxic chemicals out of your house, making sure that you have a robust immune system by taking high quality practitioner level supplements and minerals, vitamins and minerals to help your body to have the proper immune system, to diet and everything. So there's a whole lot of holistic and natural approaches that you can take to help to make yourself less susceptible to getting autoimmune diseases. And as I mentioned earlier, if you get one autoimmune disease, there's a chance that there's a good chance that you'll get another autoimmune disease. So anything that we can do to help to alleviate that, to make sure that we don't have toxins going on, whether they be chemical toxins, whether they be mycotoxins from mold in our foods or in our buildings that we are in, we want to make sure that we are trying to give our bodies the very, very best chance to avoid these types of conditions. So let's talk a little bit about diet. Everything really starts with diet in our health. We know that the old phrase that let medicine be your food and food be your medicine is been around since the ancient Greek times. So this is some ways that you can help with to prevent Addison's disease, or if you are diagnosed with Addison's disease, it can also help you to make it better, to alleviate your symptoms and to help you to be less likely to go into adrenal crisis. So eat a whole foods diet, including adrenal supporting foods such as high quality proteins, healthy fats, and salt intake. You want to make sure that you're getting a fair amount of salt, more so than the average Joe, who may not need to get as much sodium, because with your Addison's disease, you're not producing the hormones needed to help to keep your sodium levels up. Include sea salt into your diet. Avocados, coconut oil, and leafy greens are all very good adrenal supporting foods, which will help you to balance out your health when you have this condition. Let's talk about herbal remedies. Now, I love herbal remedies. I love herbs. I love supplementing with them. And the reason why is because these have been used for thousands of years to treat a number of conditions. So I want to talk a little bit about adaptogenic herbs and just a few of them. We'll list a few of them because these might support adrenal health. And so, for thousands of years, these things have been used to not just address stress and adrenal health, but to address a whole lot of different things in the body. So the number one that I like to use, and I actually take it every day. I recommend it to our clients, but is ashwagandha. Ashwagandha has been used in Ayurvedic medicine for hundreds and hundreds of years. It is a very common adaptogenic herb. It helps to balance your body's response to stress. It can help to balance and to improve your sleep quality. It may help you to balance the different hormonal levels in your body. So ashwagandha is, one of the probably best known and more widely used adaptogenic herbs. Now, I get ashwagandha both in the herb form and making a tea out of it. But a lot of people, it's just simply easier to supplement with a ashwagandha supplement in a capsule form. Easier to take that way. And that is what I usually recommend for clients and provide for them is this ashwagandha in a supplement form. Licorice root is another very, very common and popular adaptogenic herb. I also use that personally myself, and I also recommend that to clients. One of the great things about licorice root is that it does help too with gut health, and it helps to if you're suffering from intestinal permeability, dysbiosis in the gut. So licorice root is really good for balancing out your gut health as well. Rhodiola and holy basil, which is most commonly known as tulsi. It is those are probably the most popular of the adaptogenic herbs. And a little bit later, we'll share where you can get some of these for yourself if you'd like to at a discount. So these might support adrenal health. And so these are some of the common herbal remedies for Addison's disease. Lifestyle changes. Again, when you're talking about holistic and natural medicine, we have to talk about lifestyle. Lifestyle is so, so important. And, if your medical doctor is not talking to you about your lifestyle before they're flinging pills at you, you might want to make sure that you talk to them about that, because lifestyle is important for not only prevention, but for the management of any type of chronic illness. So stress management is a big thing. Again, we know that a large activator of your adrenal glands is stress. And so we want to make sure that we're practicing in stress management, we're reducing stress as much as possible. And so here's some common ways: meditation, yoga, and just deep breathing exercises, practicing box breathing, where we breathe in for 4 to 6 seconds, we hold it for 4 to 6 seconds, we breathe out for the same amount, 4 to 6 seconds. Now you choose. Some people like to use 4. I like to use 6 if possible, but do at least 4, right? And then hold it before you breathe back in for 4 to 6. So it's that box. It's 4, 4, 4, 4, or 6, 6, 6, 6. And you'll find that some people actually will even do 8, 8, 8, 8. You choose, but just practice breathing deep belly breaths, not in your chest, but getting those in. That's those deep breathing exercises. And you'll find that'll help to relieve stress. And then another critical lifestyle change for Addison's disease is sleep hygiene. What's that mean? That means getting good sleep. It means doing the things that you need to do, going to bed at a regular bedtime, avoiding electronic devices or television at least 30 minutes before you go to bed, because that blue light from those screens actually messes with our melatonin and it messes with our sleep cycles. Getting into a good, regular cycle of sleep is critical, not just for Addison's disease, but really for your overall health, because it's when you're sleeping that your body goes into a process of healing and removes damaged cells, removes infection. It goes to work for you while you're sleeping. So getting good quality sleep is super, super important. Some alternative therapies, acupuncture and acupressure. Again, primarily is going to help to relate with, improving the chi or the energy flow to your kidneys, and also stress relief, massage and reflexology as well. So all of these are kind of those alternative therapies are going to help to just kind of relax your body and help you to manage stress even a little bit better. So here's some resources for you. If you are watching the show on the TV, there's some websites there to you for rarediseases.org, also the National Adrenal Disease Foundation, and the Adrenal Insufficiency United organization. Now, I told you I would be sharing with you, and I'll put these in the show notes too, in case you're not watching the actual TV show and you're maybe listening to it. I'll put them in the show notes as well, but you can get practitioner grade ashwagandha. These are pure, free from any unnecessary fillers or anything like that, gluten-free, all of that. You can get those with a 10% discount courtesy of me by visiting the website there on the screen, and you would then just need to use our practitioner code on there, which is 661753. 661753 is our practitioner code. These are available only from practitioners. So you would get that. And by using my practitioner code, you'll get a 10% discount off your ashwagandha, or you can find other clean supplements as well, such as licorice root in there. So that's up there for you. And there you go. So you can see, just use that code and you will be able to get that discount as well. We do excited in the last couple of weeks with our lab partner, we have released our autoimmunity Zoomer lab test. So this is going to test for a whole lot of markers that could be indicative of a variety of autoimmune diseases. As we said, they usually tend to, if you get one, you'll get another one. So you can go to that website there and order it direct to patient. So it's right from my portal there, and we'll get it approved as soon as you order it. We'll get it submitted to the lab and get it sent off to your house, so you can take that, ship the sample back, and within just a couple of weeks you'll get your results back. So again, there's a brand new super advanced autoimmunity Zoomer lab test that is available to our clients as well. So we definitely want to make sure that you're aware of that. All righty. So that's, in conclusion, let's just kind of touch bases here. It looks like a lot of other, Addison's disease can look like a lot of other diseases. The signs and symptoms are the same. By the time that you are diagnosed with it, or you start having the signs and symptoms associated with Addison's, that about 90% of your adrenal gland is already damaged. So if we can prevent it by eating healthy, whole foods, avoiding food additives, removing toxins, and if you need help on how to remove toxins from your home, message us. We'll be happy to help you, point you in the right direction, right? Removing molds, mycotoxins. If you think you might have been exposed to molds and want to find out, we have lab testing for that too. We can help you to figure out if that's what's affecting you or causing your symptoms. So make sure that you're aware of that. Reduce stress. Try to take time out to enjoy life. Get out in nature. breathe deeply from the belly, not the chest, right? We want you to relieve that stress and do whatever you can. And if you do have Addison's disease, make sure that you're being extra vigilant in eating correctly. Make sure you're visiting your healthcare provider and getting, whatever labs they are recommending regularly. Make sure that if you think that you are about or in the middle of an adrenal crisis, that you get help. Wear a medical alert tag, letting folks know that you have Addison's disease, so that in the event that you're not able to communicate because of an adrenal crisis, that they know which direction to look in. So I hope that's been helpful. As always, we want to thank ArrowStreamTV Network for sponsoring the show. And again, thank Doc Stone's Natural Medicine and Wellness for sponsoring the show. If you have any questions, please be sure to go ahead and just message me. You can email, or you can also comment in the show, and we'll be happy to reach out to you. So thank you. Until next week, we'll see you. Live a vibrant life. Thank you for watching Wellness Unleashed with Doc Stone on the ArrowStreamTV network. The opinions expressed by the host and guests of this show are theirs and not the opinions of the network or our sponsors. None of the information shared on today's episode should be taken as medical advice. Statements have not been approved by the FDA or any other governmental authority. And if you're experiencing any kind of illness or wellness issue, you are encouraged to consult with your licensed healthcare practitioner. And we do appreciate you watching our show and look forward to seeing you on the next episode.